Do you think helicopter when you land and lift off your clipper blades? Let's see why you should. Clipper blades are sort of like a helicopter. Helicopters must come in for a level landing. If they're too far forward, if they're too far backwards, it can be a real jumble for their passengers. Let's show you some examples. Now this is a level landing, and I usually like to pause a second before I land to make sure I'm perfectly straight, perfectly parallel with my hone, and then pause a second when I lift up the blade. Now if you're too nose down, like in this angle, that can cause a real problem. You can take off a little bit of this metal off the front. Unless you go back and grind it flat again, it's not going to cut correctly. Here's one that's nose down, and even though you straighten it out, it's still going to have a little section right here at the top of your comb or the top of your teeth. It's not going to be flat and level, it's going to be angled, and you're not going to get the correct cutting. If you're relaxed coming in, it's not as bad as coming in ramp. A relaxed landing, you're going to end up taking off metal back here, which doesn't look pretty. You're going to end up maybe making this rail smaller than it should be, but they should be able to cut. Now I have an example. This is a blade that was sharpened incorrectly. You can see there was a little bit of a relaxed landing, but that's not the problem. The blade will cut fine with that. But if you can see up here with the teeth, this was actually lifted wrong. The reason I know it's lifted wrong is because I did it on purpose so you can see what would happen. Can you see how these teeth on this is angled at such a way that's not going to cut correctly? Plus, if I run my finger down there, it's super sharp. It would cut an animal or a person if they touched them with this. Now this is kind of an exaggerated problem, but you still have to be able to look at them close and you can see this. To correct it, I would just have to go over and sharpen it, take enough metal down to make that flat again. This is an example of two blades that were sharpened in a relaxed position. In other words, when they came down, it was this way instead of flat or going in a ramping position, but a relaxed position. And you see where the back rail is completely gone. Part of this is gone. This tells me this was a landing incorrectly is the problem with this blade. This cutter is the same way. The rail is gone, but there's still some life in the top. But the bad part is this is now so sharp that could hurt someone. We did a video earlier on that where someone in our local area was sharpening incorrectly and was causing damage to some of the groomers who were using those blades. This is a blade that was sharpened and not following in a straight line. Now this is an exaggerated, but you can see how you're going to have these lines going this way and the lines aren't going straight up the blade. This is another example of bad sharpening. Now once you land correctly, you need to fly straight and narrow. Well, now we're going to use a car instead of an airplane, but you want to have about 2 pounds even pressure. Now right here is 2 pounds. I know this, my scale is a little dirty looking, but you want to have a nice even pressure and to go straight. And you see, practice on a scale with a car, and you want to keep that as even as you can as you're going back and forth. Piloting your helicopter, this is your pilot. As you notice, I have a very crooked finger. Too much sharpening, old age. For most people, the best way to put their magnet on their blade is here, and you want it kind of centered between the two rails, the top rail and the bottom rail. So this, I'd push it forward maybe just a tad. And that would be the right positioning, so that I'm giving an even pressure between the top rail and the bottom rail. Do you see that? Now, for me and my hand, it works better for me to hold it this way because that finger is so crooked. But either positioning will work. And once again, I want to make sure that I have that centered as much as possible between that back rail and the front rail. So that would be the correct positioning for my magnet, and also I want it even between the sides. You may have to go with a smaller magnet for the little smaller blades, the trimmer blades, and there's other magnets on the market that I like and that I recommend. But as much as possible, I will use the bigger magnet because it gives me a better grip with my arthritic fingers. And you don't have to have the best health, the strongest hands, or the strongest body to do this business. I'm a perfect example of that. So that is how you pilot your clipper blades. If you want to know more about blades, blade sharpening, shear sharpening, all things sharp for beauty shops, barber shops, groomers, please subscribe and stay tuned to my channel. Thank you.